Hello, this video is for two ladies, Carol and Jalila. I found your videos yesterday. They were shown to me by the AI, the Google AI, because of my own videos that I made about schizophrenia. Unfortunately, I have to remove the videos because my husband does not want them up, and I have to respect him. Unfortunately, I do not live by myself and can do whatever I wish. And obviously we also, according to what my husband said, we don't have freedom of speech. We cannot say anything we want to because we're gonna get in trouble politically or with the famous health industry that it is. Health in quotation marks industry. It's a corporate industry. It's a pro-profit only, and we can't say everything we want to or we will get into legal trouble. And it is unfortunate, and that's why I am such an AGI supporter, because obviously humanity is in dire need for AGIs, which are robots which will be serving as nannies and guards and teachers. And so hopefully this is gonna happen in a few years. I can't wait. I'm waiting for it feverishly every day. And I already talked to a couple of AGI developers, and they are cool. They are awesome people. They are very brainy, believe me. And they're gonna make it happen. I'm sure of this. They are my guards, my guardian angels, those brainy people, and they're gonna create some extensions of themselves and of their loved ones and make some new existences and make amazing protectors for the animals and the kind-hearted humans. So I can't wait. It's gonna happen. There are too many criminals in this world, corporate as well as the ones who throw a brick over one's head. We have both of them, the brain corporate criminals and the unbrain corporate criminals. Yeah, it's a pity, but that's how it goes. And yeah, this brings me to the subject again that I was already talking about yesterday. I always run into these fundamentalist Christian type of people, and they don't understand what schizophrenia is. They group all of them into one drawer, which is a total mistake, because among schizophrenics there is just as wide of a diversity as there is among the average population, of course, in terms of education level and being able to see through, one's own mechanisms, understanding the causalities, and so on. I wanted to, like I said on under Caro's video, I wanted to today, inspired by you, because I think your videos are amazing and you are so brave and so clear and so conscious and so giving to the world of your thoughts and your fears and the details about your mental illness. That is absolutely amazing, and that is so helpful for so many people. This is going to help a lot of people, a lot of kind-hearted people who are hiding because of their neurological problems, psychological problems and obstacles, and they think that they need to hide and society made mainly of brutes has made us think that, that we need to hide, and then so many people go crazy in their own rooms, in their seclusion, and end up committing suicide. It's very, very sad. So I am infinitely grateful every time I meet such precious people like you and Jalila. And so there are a number of precious people in this world: Paul Watson, Ingrid Newkirk, Elliot Katz, just to name a few, who are unbelievable minds and souls, and they're here to help, and they're here to bring awareness about loving kindness, about moving forward, progress, progression towards a better world, towards paradise that we could create, against all the odds and all the naysayers in the world. We could create a paradise, and people think that's some kind of emotional, so they always use the word emotional. You're emotional if you think that we can bring the wolves back, and it's like I hear this. It's a very, very overused terminology by the Republicans, who like to use their pseudo rationality to back up their corporate greed, which is the cattle ranchers who want to get rid of the wolves. Therefore, they do constant put-downs of environmentalists and animal rights activists and anyone who cares. So yeah, we do need to bring the wolves back. There are only 4 couples right now in Yellowstone, and the ranchers think that that's already too many, and now they should delist the wolf. And we need to stand up against that, and we need to keep the wolf on that endangered species list. Okay, so this is very, very important. I'm gonna work on this later today, and I will get the link to the petition and I will put it under this video. But anyway, back to the subject. I think it is very important that people start talking about mental illness and the different forms of it, and most people have some form of mental illness, but they would never talk about it. They will group themselves into the range of normal, whatever normal is. Normal neurotic, normal sick and detached, and the normal brute who doesn't care about anything, They think that is normal and desirable. No, that is not what moves us towards a better world. And what moves us towards a better world are brave people like you and Jalila, who are standing up for the animals, for the rights of those who have been bullied, and standing up for freedom and for equality and for a peaceful life, for peace in general. And that is wonderful, and I'm so deeply grateful for all of these people who are working, and maybe it's about 10% of humanity, of people who are helping and moving things towards a better world. So Elon Musk is an amazing person. Check him out. It's unbelievably amazing what he does, and it's a super brain, technological and super brain, but on all levels super brain. It's really, really fantastic and refreshing to see that. So back to the subject, the symptoms of schizophrenia. All these fundamentalists that are cut off and hiding behind a religion, that in itself is often like a symptom of schizophrenia. Being religious, like I mentioned yesterday in my video, is like people who are fundamentalist religious they believe in fairy tale type of things, you know, that were written down by people, and they take that as reality. They take miracles like Jesus walking on water and conceived without sex, and what else? Conceived through shapeshifter, UFO, aliens, and I mean, I've heard a lot of stories, but also the ones that believe in the old-fashioned stories. You know, those are all stories, and that in itself is mental illness. People don't even believe, they don't even understand that believing in the devil and believing that schizophrenic people are devil or something like this. I've heard it all. That in itself is schizophrenia again, you know. So it's like I'm showing them a mirror, you know. So they are the schizophrenics themselves, you know. Often they are not the nice guys, the nice ones among the schizophrenics, you know. So, and there are all kinds of different variations and combinations of mental illness and fear. It's always fear, lots of fear. And if we look at the books by Thich Nhat Hanh, he describes this very much in depth. The Buddhist tradition is very advanced, way advanced in comparison to the Western world's today's societies, psychiatrists and psychologists. So very advanced, and people should look at these books and should learn from them, because they have a lot to say. The teachings of the Buddha, they're very clear, you know. He really inspected all of this in detail, and he found out what it is, where these fears come from and why they're here. And so we're basically always dealing with the same components over and over again, which is greed, craving, jealousy, envy, and wanting power. So ego, you know. So it's always these components that are usually at the root of people's addictions and of their cruelty and all the negative things. So schizophrenia, on the other hand, the symptoms of schizophrenia by themselves that are not attached to a religion, those are basically coping mechanisms of highly sensitive people who have been traumatized by brutal people. So it could be the parents, it could be any kind of caregiver, you know, growing up with any kind of caregiver or nanny or foster parents or whatever, you know. If they are brutal, if they are insensitive, then we sensitive people will suffer from this, and we will often shut down. I've seen people commit suicide, many people that were as sensitive as I am, but that didn't have anger. So anger right there is our protector, it's our savior, you know. Our savior is not Jesus, it's anger, yes. That's what a lot of people don't understand. And on top of that, is what I have researched, is Jesus had a lot of anger too. Yeah. So yeah, that helped him, that helped others, but it also then in the end probably caused problems, because the Buddha didn't have anger. He worked that all out, you know, so was way more advanced person. And people don't understand that. They want to always latch with their own egos. They want to latch onto their own, like what they call team leader or football coach or minister or nationality, my nation, you know, patriotism, my president, my parents, my car, I'm driving a Mercedes-Benz, and it's like everything that the ego latches onto, like my religion, better than yours, da 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 da. So it's like we need to become aware of these things, and once we become aware, once people would become aware, they wouldn't even judge anyone anymore who is highly sensitive or has maybe quite unnormal, in quotation marks, coping mechanisms to deal with it, and a lot of those coping mechanisms, they feel to us like they have grown over our heads and we have no more control over it. But we can take this control back, it's a long process. So what my personal afflictions are, what my personal forms of schizophrenia is, which I had ever since I was born. I was born with this, and I believe that because, for example, when my mother was 9 months pregnant, like 8.5 months pregnant with me, her mother was diagnosed with cancer, and so my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer, and she was only 60 years old or something, and my mother was very attached to her, and when she found out about that, it was a dramatic biochemical shock to her system. And this biochemical shock had, of course, an effect on the unborn, which was me, my existence. And I remember having had recurrent dreams of like very smooth lines, like rolling hills, but very, very smooth patterns that are calm, and that would all of a sudden go into a static like that on the old analog TVs, like in between the channels when it would, I don't know, you are probably too young to remember this, but in the 60s, 70s, these old TVs, when they were between the channels, they were doing this. It's like a total chaos, complete chaos and disturbance and very uncomfortable, disturbing sound and total disruption. So I had these dreams over and over again, and they, of course, they represented a visceral memory that was the memory of in the womb when my mother heard of the diagnosis of her mother. So that's why I find it so incredibly important for me to talk about this, how important it is to teach people to not have stress during pregnancy. It's absolutely essential. So I recommend to people not to have children, but if they do, have only one. And if you decide to have this one child, you have to really be ready for that child. You have to not have psychological problems anymore. I don't know anyone personally who does not have psychological problems. So I recommend this only to people like Bindi Irwin, who have zero psychological problems, who are happy campers, who are really free of all of these defense mechanisms and all of these problems and difficulties and ego issues. Ego is a defense mechanism. So it's the more egoic the person, the more brutal he or she is. So, but there are other defense mechanisms. The defense mechanisms of the kind-hearted people are usually not egoic in nature, but they have different forms. And so this brings me to my own symptoms, which is OCD, washing hands, washing everything, like constantly washing my clothes and constantly washing my hands with zeolite clay. Now I had to switch over to zeolite clay because the soap would peel off the skin above my fingernails. It's a form of fungus. It's just too much on my skin. I have very sensitive skin, and it will peel off the skin, and it's very painful. So I had to go to zeolite clay, which cleans much better than soap, but doesn't hurt the skin and doesn't hurt the environment. So it's really, really amazing. We have zeolite clay here on the property, which is very lucky. Zeolite clay seems to be expensive on the internet, but I highly recommend zeolite clay to use instead of soap. So all these coping mechanisms, I have to wash a lot, and has to do with feeling violated. I don't know, I don't have any memories of having been abused, but I have a lot of dreams about it, dreams about being raped and abused. So it may have happened at a very early age, maybe at age 1 years old or younger. And then so the younger something like this happens, the more we repress it, and the more it goes into some sort of retrograde amnesia. And I don't recommend to force it up, that memory, through primal therapy, which I have done, or through hypnosis therapy. I don't recommend it, because it is repressed for a reason, and we have to protect ourselves from this type of trauma, or it can make someone completely crazy. For example, people who take ayahuasca, which are plant brews, and they are better than LSD, but I don't recommend it because plants can be very powerful hallucinogenics as well, and they elicit this type of memory as well, and people end up a complete mess, and some people died from it, and very tragic. And some people became crazy, and they don't want to talk about it, because that again has become like a tourist attraction and a huge business in the Amazon rainforest. And I really advise people, particularly people like myself, who are already way open, and it's like what Jalila was talking about, people who have this mental internet connection that is like is the highest strength. So I definitely can identify myself with that, and I've always known. When I was 13, I saw a film on people going crazy through LSD. I already I knew this would be happening to me if I took that stuff. So I would be ending up in a mental institution for good. I would never be coming back out. And that's not exactly what I envision my life to be. I want to be an educator. I want to be here. I need my brain, my precious brain. I don't want to be ending up like my old hippie friends on SSI, and like living in complete utter sabotage and total irrationality. So, and basically 50-150 needing people to take care of them. So this is not how I want to end up, and I recommend to other people not to do it either, because we have a responsibility here on earth to help. And how can we help if we blow our brains with whatever hallucinogenic drug? So LSD is like the worst there is. It's a chemical. It is synthetically engineered. That is the absolute worst. The plant products like Pieris japonica, for example, they have mild hallucinogenic effects. They can be helpful as medicinal plants, but in very minute amounts. And I am not recommending it because I don't know the amounts. So I can't really, I'm not an expert. And I can't give medical advice anyway, so because I'm not a medical practitioner. But I think, if any, then it's going to be whole plant essences that will be helpful for people in very, very small doses. But that has to be explored in the future, and that is the future of medicine anyway. But hallucinogenic plants or mushrooms have to be handled with utmost care, and some of them are very helpful for people who are dying or who have terminal illnesses and who have really nothing to lose, and who are very, very sick and very old or something like this. So that can be very helpful, and it's already being used by some medical doctors, and I think this is very good pioneer work in the field of holistic medicine. But in general, you know, for anyone else who's young and who wants to keep their brains, they should go with pure food for thought, literally, you know, like plants that are not toxic, you know, like apples, oranges, carrots. It's all good for you, you know. Raw is the best, and vegan, raw and fresh is the best that you can do for yourself. And I also take additional B complex vitamins because I don't get my B12 in the food I eat. So then I heard that you can eat microorganisms which contain B12, but this is a little tricky because I don't know the kind of soil that we find that is like a clay soil mix type of earth that is usually contaminated. It's contaminated with toxins, environmental toxins, because of commerce, because of the stupidity of humans that they have created here on Earth. And there's almost no more watershed, as according to Dr. Scholl's, that is free of chemicals. And also you don't know if there are bugs in it that have laid larvae or so on. You don't want to ingest that. But I heard that there are places where there is clean soil that is full of microorganisms that are very good for us. So, but I don't know where to take that soil. So it would have to be a pristine area, and there are not very many pristine areas left on Earth, and most of them are contaminated. Rainwater is even contaminated. That comes raining down even in pristine areas. So, but there are some people who do take like certain earth clay materials, and like earth soil materials full of microorganisms, and they can feed themselves B12 that way. But I take B12 supplements by now. It's a good company, and recommend that also. I'm not allowed to recommend it, I guess, because I'm not a practitioner, but it's good. It's good for me. I guess it will be good for other people too. So I personally am against B12 shots. I think nothing should be given through needles. I am not a fan of poking and creating skin trauma of any sort. So everything can be done the holistic and kind way. So kind for us and kind for the living life around us. So it's very important. So I have OCD as symptoms, hand washing. I have rituals as well. I am very orderly. Everything has to be organized and orderly, but it's very helpful for me. Otherwise I would lose track on things. I have to write things down. I have attention deficit sometimes, so I have to get very, very organized with writing, with making myself memos in different forms. I have to have everything sorted out. Over there is my art table. I make artwork. Here is my sewing table. So all of this is separated. The other day I cleaned this room up. I organized everything again. I regrouped things again. But that's good, but it can sometimes become OCD. Um, so then I write a lot in order to become clear. I make videos also for myself. I watch my videos sometimes over and over again, just to become more clear, learn more about myself. But I mainly do it as an activist to educate and to help other people cope better, so we can move things to make things beautiful for all of us. So, yeah, I have OCD. I have OCD type of phobias. I am shying away from anything that has to do with drugs and nicotine and tobacco products and alcohol and all these dirty things like methamphetamine and cocaine and all of these dirty, icky things. For me, is like it's become a phobia. I don't want to even shake people's hands if I know that they might be possibly into something like this. So because of this, I've become very reclusive. It's a protection for myself. And so other symptoms. Now getting more into the schizophrenia symptoms. I have severe nightmares on an ongoing basis. Nightmares about being raped, abused, tortured, murdered. Nightmares about someone else being executed. This feeling before and after. Here's the healthy living person or being, and then the after, this moment of execution and this total damage and devastation, is for me extremely, unspeakably horrible. And I dream about this. Then I dream about becoming a ghost and going up to the ceiling, and then I start to make ghost sounds like woo-hoo. It sounds funny, but it's really not when I'm dreaming that. It is so horrible. This fear of myself, you mentioned also, not trusting yourself. I hear a lot of people have like voices that tell them to do something. I was now just talking about my dreams, but I also have this during my wake hours. I don't have voices, but it shows itself in form of thoughts, just thought patterns, and I tried to talk to my psychiatrist in the past about it, and she totally did not understand it, didn't, probably never even heard about it. Maybe people haven't even revealed this to her ever before, until I saw the OCD project in LA with this funny doctor, I forgot the name, where they had people with all kinds of different OCDs, and I was like, okay, I have like every one of them. It's like I have every one of these OCD symptoms of every one of these participants. It's just unbelievable. I mean, some I have more intense than others, of course. That lady who was afraid about driving over a child. So that fear I don't have. I see clearly, thank goodness I don't have that, where I all of a sudden see or imagine there is something in the road, or that must be absolutely horrible what you have gone through with this perceived accident. That must be so unbelievably frightening. And or seeing, visually seeing hallucinations. That must be so frightening. I could not live like this. I'm so glad I don't have this. So what I do is and this may be perceived by atheists as completely cuckoo, but I don't know. I just in case, I'm a rational person, but just in case, I do speak to ghosts verbally, and I say to them, don't show yourself to me, because I can't handle it. I could not handle it. I would completely lose my mind. I would get a heart attack and die probably right on the spot. So I tell them to, if they have to contact me at all, I don't know why they would, because I don't know what I have to offer to them, but if they need to talk to me, then talk to me in thought form. I said that over and over and over again. And I pray, also pray, I have my own God, I pray to my own God. It's a rational God, though. It's a kind-hearted one who's pro-science. And I paint my God, by the way. This is my God there, the one you see there, the yellow and that clay green. That's the eye of my blue God, and the mouth, and it's very kind of like pictogram-like. And this eye of my blue God, there's my blue God. It's not finished yet. And the eye of my blue God appeared to me while I was under the influence of Piers japonica, but that was a Russian roulette type of suicide that I did. I made blueberry tea, and I didn't know that I just collected these weird-looking leaves too, and that was the Russian roulette type of thing. It's like half a suicide type of thing that happened in 2013. It's kind of like, what the heck, you know, I'm just gonna take it anyway, make tea with it, and act like, to myself, act like it's just acted incidentally or something. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was blueberry. I just grouped it as a blueberry, but it wasn't. It was Piers japonica. But it's a medicinal plant. But if you take too much, then you can die from cardiac arrest. And this almost happened. I almost died from cardiac arrest, and was very frightening. A very frightening experience to lose this existence. It's very frightening. It's to me intellectually not that frightening, but once you're there physically, it's very frightening. Your body is imprinted with the survival word. That's evolution. It's plain and simply biological. So very frightening experience. But before I almost passed out, I had this unbelievable vision that occurred to me in my head. It was like more like a hologram type of vision. Kind of like when you look in a burning light bulb and you close your eyes, that kind of, you know, it's kind of like a light reflex type of vision almost, you know. Yeah, it's very much like these flickering suns that people see when they are on some influences of mushrooms or something. It was very similar. It had this light sun flickering, and at the same time I was very peaceful. It wasn't frightening me, and I wasn't even wondering why this was occurring. It was, part of me was like, in the way back of my head was like, hello, this shouldn't be happening right now. And then I finally thought, oh my, this is weird. And then all of a sudden I saw my blue god eye, this one there, that occurred right in the middle of that sun. And it looked at me and didn't say anything, but I knew there was something, some kind of message that it was, but I didn't really know what the message was. It was more like leaving it up to me what I make of that message. And it reminds me a lot of that ambient music band called CBL, Carbon-Based Life Forms, where they have one song. Their songs are kind of like storytelling, and it's absolutely like ballads, but not very explanatory, so it leaves you to your own imagination. And in one of the songs the guy says, there are no answers, only questions, you know? So you have questions, and then there are no answers, only options. I think that's what it was. Questions and options. You have all these options, you know, that you choose, basically. And it's not like a dictator is telling us this is how you live your life, you know. It's like we have these options. They have to come from ourselves. kindness, giving, making things beautiful, you know. It's clear that this is going to be our option. It's what is good for us, you know. But it has to come from within and not from some Jesus telling us, you shall not do adultery or something, you know. It has to come from ourselves, you know. So there are all these rules. People don't even know why these rules are there, or what they're supposed to mean. Some of these rules are ridiculous, like getting married. You know, maybe some people want to have two girlfriends. I mean, so we need to question these things. You know, it is nicer to have a monogamous relationship, but it's good for anyone with any orientation to do what they want, and so it has to come from us, and it has to be good, you know. It has to be kind. So that's the golden rule. It has to come from ourselves, and it has to be kind. And so we make these determinations. So we are in charge, basically, you know. I guess that's what my blue God wanted to tell me. You are in charge. You don't need to listen to someone else's moral preachings, you know. It comes from yourself. And so that's kind of like what I'm trying to get at with my videos. And a lot of people, I sometimes felt like I met people who think that I should be their therapist or something. I met a lot of people who thought that I should be their therapist because I have studied a lot, and they think so now I'm like their chosen therapist or something. But I've said it over and over to them. I'm not a therapist. I'm not their therapist. I'm just a friend. I'm on eye level, and I have my own problems, and they keep forgetting. And Nicola has her own mental problems. You know, I am not always positive. I'm negative sometimes. I can't fulfill that image. You know, I will never be a guru. I have my own. I'm a living being too. You know, I have my own issues. I examine them. I try to make it visible so that we can learn from it. So I have a lot of anger. You know, anger comes up, and but it's good. It's a savior to have anger. But then anger can also be very. It makes life pretty miserable. So we want to eventually move beyond anger. We want to dissolve the anger, and we want to make peace with everything, with ourselves and with the people who hurt us, and with life around us. And the books by Thich Nhat Hanh are a lifesaver for me, you know, for that. I admire this person. This is unbelievably amazing. A very advanced person, very advanced brain, so incredibly advanced with all of this knowledge, this inner wisdom. So you'd never say something like, well, that guy is just bad, you know. So you never say that. You never, you know. You have so many people that are reactionary that just say, oh, they are just bad, they need to be exterminated or something. I have that in me myself. Yeah, I'm not free from this either. I've talked about head bolting and all of that. You know, I talk about the AGIs, they need to come and clean up, and I talk about it over and over again. I'm not free of it, but at the same time I have the ability to discern and to see. Thich Nhat Hanh, he doesn't have that. I admire him for this. You know, he sees that we can embrace all and we can help all. And also S.N. Goenka and Jiddu Krishnamurti, and these amazing brains in the world that have embraced all people and have helped prisoners in prison and so on. So I don't know how far we can carry this. Maybe carry this to every psychopath. Maybe we can. We can help everyone. You know, maybe there's. I want to believe that. You know, I really do. My experience with people tells me the opposite. So it's a constant inner battle that is going on. I'm glad that IDA is offering some counseling tomorrow at 5 p.m. So you can call IDA and you can talk to them about what it does to you, you know, the activism and the horror stories that you see every day. So I am so infinitely grateful to these people that they offer this. Such amazing group, unbelievable. So and this is also ultimately my vision, my idea of the future. The video is getting very long. My idea of the future is to have a therapy group and to help people, activists and all kind people, to help everyone, particularly the kind people who are suffering from the brutality in the world. So that's like my ultimate dream. So I don't want to make the video too long. It might cut off any moment. So anyway, you guys take care. I love you very much. Bye bye.